on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
Life's tough, but it's tougher when you're very stupid.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes and we're in for Colin Murray all week. Who's winning the battle of pre-season? Is it Chelsea with the acquisition of Kante and Conte? Is it Manchester City with Pep Guardiola? Or is it, as Porky believes, Manchester United? Not only have they got the world's greatest manager with Jose Mourinho, they've now got the man who calls himself God, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. The mind games have begun. 08717 22 3344. Also coming up on the show, we've got yet another watch of the day from Mike Parry's vast collection of timepieces. Plus it's Ask Porky, where you can get your problems solved and questions answered live on air. And we'll bring you the result of the final edition of Winners and Losers as well. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. It's time to say a very, very good morning on this very sweltering hot day to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And you're absolutely right, it is sweltering. I didn't sleep a wink last night.
Did you not at all? I mean, I was very, very fitful, I would say. I think I got about 3 or 4 hours in between watching various episodes of Peaky Blinders and sending a few emails. Because after a while, you lie there and you think, well, there's not much point, really, is there?
No, there's not.
There's not. He's trying to have a cold shower and you get the old cold flannel out.
Yeah.
Might
as well get up
waking
and
up.
do something productive.
Yes.
Read a few of my journals.
Well, we've got a bit of a busy afternoon ahead, so I hope you're not going to be sort of faltering by the wayside.
Yeah, no, we have got a busy week, an afternoon ahead. You've probably got a busy week as well.
Yeah.
Now then, let's get down to business, because you see, the war of the mind games has begun, and guess who's winning at the moment? It's Jose.
Yeah.
Jose's winning by a mile. I mean, look, I'm looking at the back of a tabloid newspaper this morning, and it says, I want to be God.
Yes.
Zlatan, I don't want to be king of Manchester, I want to be God.
This because Eric Cantona said you can't be king of Manchester, didn't he? He said you can be the Prince of Manchester, but I'm the king and I will always be the king.
Absolutely.
So I think Zlatan's got a pretty good chance of being the king.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be God, though, do you?
Well, he can be. I mean, you know, Matthew Le Tissier has always carried the mantle of God.
Yes.
I think Ian Rush carries it amongst his own supporters.
What, you mean more so than Kenny Dalglish?
No, Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah.
Kenny Dalglish carries it. You're absolutely right, rather than Ian Rush. But I mean, what I'm saying is it does apply to certain players.
Yeah.
Now, this all comes at the same time. You see, it wouldn't surprise me if Jose, with the very, very ebullient personality that he has inspired Zlatan, as we will call him, because Ibrahimovic is a bit too
bit
much,
of a mouthful.
It's called
actually,
Zlatan.
He calls himself Zlatan.
He does call himself Zlatan. I think he puts it on his shirt as well, doesn't he?
He does.
But so we're going to say that Zlatan is fired up by the ebullient personality of his manager, and that means that, you know, everything's looking good and rosy at Manchester United. First pre-season game against Wigan, they won 2-0.
They did.
Now, contrast that with the sort of atmosphere which is surrounding Stamford Bridge at the moment, and let me read you what I'm taking from another tabloid newspaper this morning. Conte do miracles, and this says Chelsea have pleaded with fans to give manager Antonio Conte a chance to bed in. Yeah, listen to this. Conte, who took Italy to the quarter-finals of Euro 2016, lost his first game in charge as the Blues were beaten 2-0 by Rapid Vienna in their opening pre-season fixture.
But does that really matter?
I think it does.
Fixture?
I think it does.
Does it?
I think the whole image thing is that, you know, you've got to be a winner, and you prove you're a winner by winning football matches, and Rapid Vienna are not one of Europe's great teams.
I must admit, I mean, I've always said this, that, you know, for example, when Tottenham dropped themselves out of the Europa League because they decided they were going to concentrate on the Premier League, I've always said I don't think you can get a winning mentality from losing games, can you?
I totally agree with you.
Even if they're small ones.
I totally agree. But this is the crunch bit about this report, and this is why I'm now saying that Manchester United are winning the mind games by a mile. Stamford Bridge technical director Michael Emenalo admitted, quote, it will take time.
Yeah.
The only thing that is difficult for him is that he's just come from working with players who understood his methods, and it was probably easy. Going into a completely different new arena to try to introduce your methods again is a little bit disconcerting. Now, I'm sorry, that is all terribly negative talk. I would imagine the Chelsea fans out there, right? Yeah. And remember, of course, that Jose Mourinho was their last manager but one, so to speak. You know, the caretaker manager between and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Last manager but one. And he has gone off to Manchester United, arguably the biggest club in the world, and he has set the Rockets on fire.
Yeah.
Whereas at Chelsea, Mr. Emenalo is damping down expectation, damping down the enthusiasm.
But he's not talking about the friendlies, he's talking about the start of the season. He's saying that
he's making excuses already.
It might take a little time to get going, as it
He's
were.
making excuses already. If I was a Chelsea fan this morning, right, I would have a headache. I would be groaning. I'd be walking to work without a spring in my step. Whereas, if
I don't think Chelsea fans would agree with you.
Oh, they will agree.
We will
They
find
will
out
agree.
in the course of this hour, but we're going to ask them to call us.
No, they will agree.
The number is this, right? 08717 223344. Are you concerned about the fact that these expectations seem to be being set low? Here's one from somebody calling himself Why England. He says, I think Emenolo's plea for patience with Conte at Chelsea is for the benefit of Abramovich rather than the fans.
The benefit of Abramovich?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. In that case, somebody has got a confidence crisis. There's a confidence crisis reverberating around Chelsea. If Mr. Emenalo is thinking he's having to say things to keep the owner happy because he sees the new coach coming in from a fairly unsuccessful European campaign, by the way, with Italy, and thinking, I don't know if he's up for it yet, I don't know if he's ready. Now, the thing is, and again, the connection between Chelsea and Manchester United, 2 years ago, Louis van Gaal... The former manager of Manchester United, of course.
He came in with sort of bigger expectations than he was entitled to have, don't you think?
Well, he'd had a more successful campaign in an international competition.
He had.
Semi-finals with Holland in the World Cup in Brazil.
That's true.
And then comes here, but he was
But he was so arrogant, wasn't he? He came into Manchester United with the belief that he was going to take over in Manchester, Sir Alex Ferguson's mantle.
Totally.
And he could do anything. And it turned out he couldn't do anything.
Totally. Now, when we saw Mr. Conte the other day, everyone was very impressed and said what an affable sort of chap he is.
Yes.
But there was none of this I'm the special one.
No.
But
I mean, he does kind of give... He gives out a kind of a sense of confidence without being arrogant, doesn't he?
Well, if that's the case, why then has Mr. Emenalo found it necessary to actually start apologising for his new manager before anything has happened anywhere near the Premier League?
I reckon there's only two possible scenarios here. One, Mr. Emenalo has decided to do it off his own bat because he thinks that he needs to help out his new boss. Or Mr. Conte's cleverer than you give him credit for, and he's got Mr. Emenalo to kind of put this out there.
Indeed.
As if it didn't come from him.
Indeed. Now, what I would say to the Manchester United fans is they will be walking around with a spring in their step. They feel wonderful. They've got Jose Mourinho as their new manager. Jose kept a pretty low profile in the 6 months before he came.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing any boasting, wasn't saying what he was going to do next, wasn't telling people how it's going to happen.
There were a lot of stories going around from time to time saying that, if you don't get me soon, I might go somewhere else.
Well, they were coming from his agent, and basically the agent was saying, when you've got a talent like Jose Mourinho, you can't always guarantee that if you keep a post open, he will necessarily jump in and take it. When you're ready, he may not be ready. But I just love Zlatan. I really love him. Now, the point is Zlatan going to outshine in the long term?
Yeah.
Eric Cantona.
I don't think he is in the long term, and that's why Cantona, I think, is being quite sort of, honest with him and saying, look, you'll never be the king of Manchester as long as I'm still around, basically. You will only ever be the prince, because I don't think Zlatan's going to be there for more than maybe one season or possibly two.
No, but Zlatan's already said, back in your box, Cantona.
Well, he says, I want to be God.
You were king, I'm going to be God. And I would love to have a player like that, because when you've got a player like that, and the United fans will remember, the heyday of Cantona, the turned-up collar, the defiant, arrogant expression.
Sort of goal celebrations.
The imperious goal celebrations. The guarantee that, late in the game, like the Wembley final against Liverpool, somebody's got to pull it out the bag. Who pulled it out the bag? Cantona.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And then remember once when he was asked about a second penalty he was taking in the game, didn't you feel you were tempting fate taking the second penalty, Eric? He said, but I am Cantona.
It's true. And that's the way Zlatan talks.
Yeah.
And you might remember a few months ago I did say that I think he could be the new Cantona.
Yeah.
But I think it's only going to do it for a month. Or possibly a year. No more than that.
I think he'll do it for 2 seasons. Do you know why? I think he'll be so good in the first season. He'll so light up the Premier League and light up Manchester United. I'm certain I'll give him a season's extension because I don't expect Manchester United to win the Premier League this season, but I expect him to be a huge inspiration in putting them back into that state of mind.
But as you said earlier, Manchester United against Chelsea for the Premier League title is going to be the most fascinating thing. How about this from Ryan? Yes. I think Mike Parry's right about Chelsea, with Costa looking like he's going back to Atletico. They are lacking an attacking force, and that's another problem maybe that Mr. Conte will have.
Very much so. And let's think about this. One of the reasons that LVG got off to a very slow start, if you remember, they lost their opening game. Was it to Swansea 2-1?
I think it was.
Was it? 2 seasons ago. Yeah. And he'd come from a World Cup campaign and had only 10 days or something to get his act together. Now, exactly the same thing has now happened with Chelsea.
Yeah.
They have taken a manager who, for most of the summer so far, has been wrapped up in the affairs of his country, the country he's managing, Italy, and not in the club's affairs. Whereas Jose, I am certain of this, has been plotting how he's going to restructure Manchester United since, I would say, about March of this year.
Very, very possibly so. We want to hear from you out there, of course.
Yes.
08717 22 3344. If you're a Chelsea fan, are you concerned that things are not going, perhaps in the mind games department at least, as well as you think they ought to? 08717 22 3344. This is the Two Mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. The new Wix catalogue's out now. Hundreds of new products and the brands you love. It's got everything you need to do your project right. This is the Wix phone-in on TalkSport. We are the Two Mics, and of course, all through the week and every day we send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every day, as decided by Mike Parry. And so far, we've already done a couple of rather good £100 giveaways, haven't we? So, and amazingly for you, it's all been done very, very fairly.
Yes.
And what we will be doing very shortly, of course, is announcing the winner of Winners and Losers.
Yes.
Which we're not going to do just quite yet.
No, we're not.
The voting is closed already, and it is the final competition of the season. So very exciting stuff.
Indeed.
A couple of tweets for you before we speak to Mr. Tony Cascarino, former Chelsea player, of course. Here's from Harry in South London. Mike Parry's talking rubbish. Firstly, as a long-standing fan, I was pleased Jose had gone. He was embarrassing me as a fan last year. He also stabbed Chelsea fans in the back, engineering getting the sack. That's interesting. I wondered about that myself. And lots of other tweets coming in. How about this from Ray, who says, sadly, King of Manchester is a title belonging to one Sergio Kun Aguero. So that's a Manchester City fan. And, of course, Manchester City will think that they've got the mind game sorted out with getting Pep Guardiola as their new manager.
Well, maybe,
but actually, he's being very quiet. He's not said anything, has he?
He's not said anything exciting, because he's never said anything exciting in all his life, because he was brought up in the academy at Barcelona, where they let their boots do the talking. By the way, just to correct you from earlier, it is, of course, Robbie Fowler who's God on Merseyside.
Well, I didn't say he wasn't.
Kenny Dalglish is king.
Yeah.
Rushy is just the great one.
Kenny Rogers, as you once called him.
And, that's right, And Robbie Fowler is God.
Robbie Fowler is God. OK, well, I'm glad you've sorted that one out. But,
exactly.
It wasn't my fault you got it wrong.
What?
08717 22 3344. We want to hear from Chelsea fans, from Manchester United fans, and Manchester City fans as well. Who seem to be rather forgotten at the moment. Not very many stories being written about them at all. Let's talk to Tony Cascarino and find out whether Chelsea, and particularly these most recent comments
from
down
Mr.
at Stamford Bridge,
Emanalo,
are actually setting very low expectations. Tony, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike and Mike.
Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Parry is convinced that Chelsea are kind of underplaying the importance of their new manager and giving him some excuses to fail.
Well, I don't ever feel the owner has accepted failure in any capacity, Mike, to be honest. I think if you look at his history of always getting success and sacking managers on a regular basis, I don't think it will be any different for Conte. I really don't. I think he'll have to be successful. Champions League, if he didn't make it by the end of this season, I think he would be sacked. I think you just look at the DNA of the football club. It is all about success and continued success. So I think it's very, very difficult, Mike, to think there will be anything from that. I don't think Roman will ever feel that 5th or 6th would be a good season for Chelsea. No. He spends way too much money. He's got an incredible high wage bill. He's got players from the very highest level. He's spent money, as an individual, probably bigger than anybody in the history of the Premier League. So I don't see Roman will see anything any different.
No, I totally agree, Tony, and that's why I think these comments from Mr. Emanalo are so odd. What he's actually said is, he said it will take time. He said the only thing that is difficult for him is that he's just come from working with players who understood his methods, and it was probably easy. He said, but he's an experienced manager, and in a couple of weeks we should be ready. Now, I'm sorry, but that to me, and that's coming from Mr. Emanalo, Arlo about your new manager, their new manager, I'm sorry, of course you don't play for them anymore. You did used to play for them, but not many people remember that.
Not many people remember that.
Well, no, I'm being mischievous.
I don't remember that, Mike.
I'm just being mischievous. What I'm saying is, Tony, I compare that with the way that Manchester United have suddenly burst into life pre-season. They've got Zlatan now going around saying, I want to be God, he wants to outdo Eric Cantona. You've got Jose, of course, bouncing around, pre-season game, beat Wigan 2-0, OK, only pre-season. But Mr. Emenalo is telling people, don't panic that we lost 2-0 to Rapid Vienna. Too many negative signs coming out of the bridge.
Well, I think the loss to Rapid Vienna, if you look at the team, Mike, there was lots of players that were, had played in the Euros that weren't available or weren't selected by Conte. So, pre-season, certainly in the early games, can be very misleading. I think if you look back to last pre-season, yes, it was disastrous because Chelsea didn't win a game. They went all around the world, travelled way too much. Jose didn't like it at all. He tried to buy in some players, the likes of Stones. Chelsea never failed to buy a player. When they were at their very best, like Man United, they went for someone, they got them, at whatever cost. Now, Chelsea didn't do that last year, and that come at a huge cost, obviously, with the start of the season. I was at the very first game last year against Swansea, and I was sitting with a pal, and I was shocked how unfit Chelsea were in the opening game. I said to him, look, I was literally saying to the guy next to me, we're chatting, saying, look at Montero take on Ivanovic. He couldn't handle him. You could tell that physically he was second best. And then that was just probably the story of the whole team, really. They just weren't up to scratch. This year, I think Conte will get a lot out of this Chelsea team. And I actually think if he goes two up front with Costa and the boy from Marseille, who's got a lot of pace, Batshuayi, they have got a handful of a side. And
but Costa might not even be there, Tony, from what we understand. I mean, Atletico Madrid are quite hopeful of getting him back.
Yeah, well, I think Costa's still got a lot to prove to Chelsea fans that we know how good he can be. We saw in the first season he arrived, he bullied and intimidated, didn't do so well until really Jose went, but that was probably like one of a good few at the Bridge last season. I'd like to think Costa would want to stay for one more year, and hey, if a player doesn't want to stay for you as a manager, you've got to say, well, don't want to play for me, goodbye. I think, Fergie would never have suffered that. I think there's a lot of other managers that wouldn't suffer. I don't think Guardiola or Jose would have a player tell them they don't want to play for them. So I think Conte, judging by what I've seen, there was no way if Costa went to him and said, I want to leave, he'd have him there. He would be going to the higher levels of the club saying, he don't want to play for me, he's no good to me.
Yeah, get lost and all that. Now, Tony, do you agree with me that Jose has two competitions this season? One of them is to do the very, very best for Manchester United, to hopefully, in his eyes, to get them to win the Premier League.
He wants to do it all, doesn't he?
Yeah, to certainly get the Champions League. That's one competition he's in. The other competition is he must finish above Chelsea for the sake of his own pride and his own conscience.
I think, Mike, if you manage Manchester United, and like Liverpool before, there's not an open top bus for coming fourth. No. You have to challenge for the league.
Yes.
And I think that Jose's own pride will be to literally knowing that he's been brought into Man United to bring back the Fergie years of success. Now, he may play it down slightly. Of course he'd love to finish above Chelsea, because if he does, he's probably got a reasonable chance of winning the league.
Yes,
there's other competition out there, but Chelsea will be far better than they were last year. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They can't be as bad. And the investment they've already made, Kante was a big one for them. They didn't have the legs in midfield last year. They suddenly run out of juice. I think that they've made some good strategic signings that will make them a better team. Conte's a manager. You saw him in the Euros, Mike.
Yeah.
You saw a manager getting every last sweat and ounce of blood out of his team.
Yeah, but somewhat erratic as well. Booting balls
off the
touch. It's absolutely erratic.
No, there's nothing erratic
about
being a character.
If your players think you're mad, if your players think you're off your rocker, then, it does destabilise the confidence your players have in you.
Well, a lot of people think you're off your rocker, but it doesn't stop them actually listening
to you. I'm not in charge of a team worth £1 billion. You know what I mean? That's a difference.
But Mike, when I talk to you off air, and we talk sensibly, don't we? You get very excited when you're on air, and you go, can someone sometimes where I go off on a whim.
Oh, really?
I
Is
know
that
we're a
right,
smart
Tony?
man. That's the same as a
I've really
gentleman.
always enjoyed doing shows with you, Tony. You know, might not have a future now.
Now,
Yeah?
Tony,
Well,
you mustn't give
okay,
Mr. Parry's secrets away because he'll never forgive you. Tony, thanks very much indeed.
No
We'll leave it
problem,
there.
mate.
We got lots more to do. We want loads of your calls as well, of course. 08717 223344. Is Porky right to say that Jose Mourinho and Manchester United are already winning the mind games of pre-season?
Indeed.
This is TalkSport. This is Talk Sports. We are the two mics, and of course, we got loads coming up a little bit later on in the show. We're going to be talking about the Russian drug scandal because, Porky, I've got some questions to ask you on that one because we know that you may have the answers to some of the questions that nobody else can answer, of course. Loads of tweets here, right? Davey says this: please, Porky, I beg of you, don't put the jinx on United, please. I will even offer you 2 times 4 you in the next season of winners and losers. I'll just keep voting for you if you don't put the jinx on them. And Jamal says, I agree with Porksky, and the problem is not with Conte and expectations, but with players in the team. We need a striker, especially now.
Yeah.
So, keep tweets coming in at the two mics. Keep calling us as well, 08717 22 3344. Let's talk to Matt, who's a Chelsea fan. Hello, Matt.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Yeah, very well. What
thank
do you think of Mr. Parry's theory?
I'm actually very. I just disagree totally. I'm very happy with the way Chelsea are going about it. I think you've got to remember, Conte only started last Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
well,
he
that's
only
bad
had 2
news.
days with
That's
the
bad
players.
news in itself, Matt. He only started last Wednesday, and now he's got a mountain of work to do. The sort of mountain that Jose Mourinho found crippling when he came to the club and found that he let his players go too long in pre-season and then ended up getting the sack.
I mean, I should imagine there was lots of talks before Conte officially took over last Wednesday. I mean, I should imagine most of the targets have been identified, and I think he probably knows some of the players he wants to get rid of. Obviously, the pre-season tour, he'll assess it a bit more, but I think he's well on the way to knowing what he's doing.
Well, on the way to knowing what he's
think
doing
it's
is not one of the greatest endorsements I think I've ever heard from a Chelsea fan, Matt. But, I mean, they're playing Liverpool in this competition in America in a friendly later on this week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that an important game for him? Is that an important game as far as you're concerned?
I think that the main thing Chelsea fans are quite curious about is what tactics he's going to play. Is he going to play 3 at the back? Is he going to play 4 at the back?
We'll only find that out by playing loads of games with your players who are going to represent your team. I'm sorry to say this, Matt, but you're living in cloud cuckoo land, mate. You really think, it's all changed, we've got a new manager, it's all going to be better, it's going to work. It's not going to work.
I think it will work. I honestly think we haven't got any European football this year, so I genuinely believe we can challenge for the title this year.
You genuinely believe?
Well, that's not very fair to attack the boy because he's a Chelsea fan. He believes in his club. Of course he genuinely believes.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
I just think the expression genuinely believe is such a crass statement. I mean, can you disingenuinely believe?
Well, no, you can't.
No, well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
There's
I
no
genuinely
such thing.
believe.
Matt, listen. Well, don't keep interrupting him, Matt. Give us your 3 reasons why you think Chelsea are going to win the league.
Okay, one reason is Eden Hazard. I think if he's at his best, I think he
All right.
is.
Well, if he is.
Second reason.
Second reason, I think Conte. I think he's a very, very good manager.
Okay, and
Well,
third.
you don't know that.
And third reason.
My third reason is no European football. I think,
Okay.
going from week to week, I think like
Yeah,
last
I think
year,
that's a good
all
argument.
big-
I think that's a perfectly good argument,
Yeah.
Matt. 1, you got Hazard. 2, you got Conte. 3, you got no European football.
Hazard was Chelsea's worst player last season.
He was, but he played well in the Euros.
Oh, he played well in a couple of games in
I
the
just
summer.
think you've got a problem with, for some reason, you've got
Yeah.
a problem with Chelsea. Let's talk to Sue.
When people come on and say, I genuinely believe, it normally means I'm not sure I do.
Well,
Because
that's-
otherwise
yeah.
you just say, look, don't
Well,
worry,
I mean, you
believe.
genuinely believe that Everton will make it in the top 4 every season.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah.
And they don't.
Well, maybe that's because in the back of my mind I'm not so certain they will.
Oh, really?
Let's speak to Sue.
We're learning a lot about you this morning. Let's talk to Sue, who's a Man United fan. Hello, Sue.
Hi, good morning. I love you too. You're brilliant.
Oh, thank
Well,
you
that's
very
very
much.
kind of
Very
you.
kind
Thank
of
you.
to say
Thank
so.
you. I certainly am. I don't know about
Which
him.
one of us do you prefer, though? That's the big question.
Oh, I love you both. You're just fantastic the way you keep bickering with each other. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's called rational debate, Sue. Rational debate.
You won't say that
Is
if he
that
gives
what
you
you
the same.
call it?
You won't say that if he gives you the same treatment he gave the last caller because he was bickering with him as well. Sue.
I have utter respect for ladies. Sue, what do you want to tell us?
Well, I just want to say that Eric will always be our king.
Right.
It's it's just how it is. It will always be. It's down in folklore. But Ibra is in the same mould as him. He's arrogant,
Ibra.
self-assured, surly. And I think he'll do well at United, and I'm hoping he'll do well at United. But, no, Eric will always be our number one. Well, he's mine anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Sue, although I accept what you're saying now, you don't know how seduced you might be by the talents of Zlatan, because he's known as Zlatan in our circles, but you've already dubbed him Ibra.
A lot of people call him Ibra, actually.
Ibra, OK. You might be well seduced by him at the end of this season. At the end of this season, you might be walking round your part of the world, Sue, saying, Cantona, Cantona.
No, definitely not. Eric will always have a piece of my heart, and he'll be in there forever. But Ibra, maybe he might get a little bit as well. But
yeah, indeed.
Eric is the king, always will be. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's exciting times for United fans, and I just can't wait for the season to start. I mean, last year I used to turn it over. I just couldn't watch them.
I know.
I was that bored with it, but I'm really optimistic for this season, and I can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, I think we're all the same.
Jose's definitely your boy, isn't he, Sue, in the sense that he and Manchester United were two bookends to a story that's going to unfold.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I just like the way that Jose's so passionate and committed. I mean, against Wigan, apparently, I didn't see the game, but he was up and down the touchline, never stopped shouting and, walking up and down. Yep. Whereas LVG just sat prostrate on the chair, and that's what we don't want to see.
With his notebook.
We want to see commitment at United.
Yeah, you don't need a manager with a notebook, really, do you?
No, you don't.
Just, walking about with that stupid thing in his hand, all day long.
No, I totally agree. The clipboard.
Yeah, the clipboard.
The clipboard. The only person who should carry a clipboard around is the inspector in a bus garage, like old Blakey.
Thank you very much indeed. So, great call. Thank you very much for ringing in. We've got loads more calls to take, and we have got plenty of time to take them.
Yeah.
We want to hear from Manchester City fans. I'll tell you something else about Manchester, because a lot of people have...
I think I know a bit more about Manchester than you do, pal.
Oh, yeah? Well, you can tell me what you know about Manchester in a minute, right? But a couple of people have tweeted in pictures of Liam Gallagher and said, Manchester's got one king and only will ever have one king, and that is Liam Gallagher, but that's arguable, of course.
And, of course, he's a big fan of mine.
He is a massive fan of yours. Yeah, he's still not speaking to you. Now, what about the fact that Pep Guardiola, who's another one that you have a bit of a problem with, right? He's a guy. No, you're always doing him down. You're always saying that he's not as clever as he thinks he is, and all this kind of thing. He has never worked in a league where there have been so many high-profile, big money superstar managers.
No, you're absolutely right.
I mean, of course, he's had Real Madrid when he was in Barcelona, but when he was in the German league, I mean, there's no person like Jose Mourinho in there. There's no Conte.
Can any of us name more than two managers in the Bundesliga?
Well, Jurgen Klopp was there, of course.
He's not now.
But, I mean, he's here now.
Can we name any of them now?
I don't imagine you probably could name one.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
And
as for the Spanish league,
it's in the time, by the way.
There was a triumvirate of teams, wasn't it? There was Real,
well, there's
Atletico,
Diego Simeone.
And no, I'm talking about the clubs that he had to compete with, and Barcelona.
Well, I just said Diego Simeone.
Yeah, Diego Simeone, absolutely.
He's the manager of Atletico Madrid.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for letting me know.
Well,
that.
You seem to think that I was talking some kind of nonsense when I said his name.
Well, you talk a lot of nonsense a lot of the time. But what I'm saying is, you are right. And the crucial point is that you've just highlighted is actually there's more star managers in the Premier League than there are players.
I think Pep Guardiola might be a little bit eclipsed by that. I think he might be a little bit nervous. We shall see. 08717 22 33 44. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. We're going to have the result of winners and losers very shortly, Mr. Parry.
What's that the music for?
Hey?
What's that the music for?
This is old...
Dragon's Den?
No, it's not Dragon's Den.
What is it?
It's Weapons of Choice, isn't it? It's Weapon of Choice.
Weapon of Choice?
Yeah.
I thought it was Mission Impossible.
Do you remember
for a
the
minute.
little smiley face? Think of the smiley face, the yellow smiley face.
The emoji?
Yeah, well, it's not really an emoji.
Yeah. Weapons of Choice. Is that a TV programme?
No.
What is it?
It's a song.
Oh, is it? Who sung it then?
It's a guy that lives in Brighton.
Really? What's the relevance of it to this show?
It's just
a
nice
piece record.
Of music.
Okay, it's a nice record, yeah. I thought it was Dragon's Den. Do you know why?
Why?
Because, listen, something
You're
fantastic
not going to have a go at
happened.
telling me who this is. You must know who this is. I mean, it's a piece of music that's used
Where's he from?
an
Brighton?
awful lot. He's from Brighton.
Right, I know who that is.
Go on.
Fatboy Slim.
Correct.
Yes, thank you.
Only taking 5 minutes.
Because I knew he lived in Brighton. Do you know I read a report, and I hope I'm not misrepresenting him.
I
read a report saying that over the years he's donated £8 million to Brighton when they were struggling.
The football team. Yeah, that's true.
When they were struggling like mad.
True. He single-handedly kept them afloat.
You remember their shirts used to have a logo on the front which said something like skint, I think. Because that was a play on the words that they were skint, and then of course
skint is a play on the word skint.
Well, no, Skint is a play on the word of a football club that has got no
Skint.
money. Yeah, Skint.
Well, it's not really a play on a word, is it?
Well,
it just means skint.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think what happened was, I think he started this company called Skint in order to funnel money into Brighton and then put their name on the front of the shirt.
Okay.
But he's a great benefactor to them, apparently.
He certainly is, yeah.
And no, the reason I thought it was Dragon's Den, right, is because I love stories like this, right? I love people who are successful, as you know. I like winners, you know?
You do like winners,
I don't like losers, and I fear poverty. So I was very, very enamoured to read that a chap called Sean Pulfrey invented a brush that disentangles your hair. And it's called the Disentangler, I think, isn't it?
Is it?
Something like that.
That doesn't sound right. That sounds like a new
Tangle
movie.
Teaser. It's called the Tangle Teaser.
The Disentangler sounds like a new movie. You know, some kind of superhero movie.
It does, actually, yeah. No, it's called the Tangle Teaser, right? So he goes up onto the show, and
what show?
Dragon's Den,
okay.
the one that I thought this was the music for.
Yeah.
So he got them on the show, and all those sort of Dragon Dens are there. You know what I mean? You know,
Dragon Dens.
All the judges on Dragon's
Peter
Den.
Jones,
Dragons, the Dragons, Peter Jones and the Dragons, and they say now that'll never work. So I'm delighted to be able to report that the company...
Was this a while ago he was on Dragon's Den?
It was in 2007. And he asked the BBC's Dragon Dens for an £80,000 investment in exchange for... The Dragons, yeah. £80,000 investment in exchange for 15% of the company. Right. So that would value the company at about £500,000. Yes. Right, 6-8.
Well, it's just 9 years ago, this
That's 9 years ago, about £500,000. Yeah. Delighted to say that he has just sold his company for £200 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that this has sold so widely now that it's exported to 40 countries. And in fact, I'm going to be able to put out a picture right now because even our wonderful producer today, Izzy, said, I've got one in my handbag. Yeah. Everybody's got one. Now, I think you could do with one because, quite frankly, your hair is a disgrace.
My hair is very natural.
It might be very natural,
I
mate.
don't do anything to it.
But, you know, dragging somebody through a hedge backwards is quite natural in the sense that hedges are all over the place.
Have you ever dragged somebody through a hedge backwards?
No, but if I did, if they did, it would look like you.
Yeah. It takes no time at all for my hair to look like this because I don't have to do anything to it.
Well, you say that, but I mean, it is pretty much a disgrace. People think that you're very wild-haired. But anyway, look,
I am kind of wild-haired.
I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this...
jealous because you haven't got any hair.
Anyway, I made you have a go at this morning, the Tangle Tweezer. It didn't have much effect on your hair. I'm going to put the picture out of the Tangle Tweezer, but I really do think we should celebrate that sort of initiative. Yeah. What do you think about this company that's been sold?
Why are you calling it Tangle Tweezer?
That's what it's called.
Actually, sure it's not Tangle Teaser.
Oh, Tangle Teaser, that's right, yeah, Tangle Teaser. The Teaser...
Dragon Dens as well. So the Dragon Dens... basically rejected the dangled tweezer.
Yes.
And instead this guy's now sold the dangled tweezer for £900 million.
200 million. 200 million. Well, you've got about 900 million.
Is there any of this story that we've actually got right?
No, I've got it all right. Let me tell you this. When you see somebody like Nicole Scherzinger, you know, one of the world's most beautiful women, former girlfriend of Lewis Hamilton. Have you
seen that weird advert she's in saying that she's backing Team GB? Isn't that her?
Oh, I don't know. Isn't it? I don't know.
I thought it was.
She used to be in Pussycat Dolls, didn't she?
She did.
Yeah. And also Emma Watson, the star of Harry Potter, when you see them whipping them out their bag
She's got one as well.
At premieres and all that, anyway,
so that's what you want me to do? Well, carry one around in a bag and whip it out every now and again?
No, I just think it would be handy if you perhaps advisedly bought one and start using it on your hair. And you would
How much
look
are they?
Wild. How much are they?
You don't know,
question.
do you?
No, I don't. They're exported to 60 countries.
Oh, good.
How's that?
Well, that doesn't help me when I asked you how much they are.
That's pretty good.
And where can I get one?
Well, you get one in Boots, probably.
Really?
That's where they sell hairbrushes.
Is it?
That's where I always go for mine.
Is that where you get yours?
Yeah.
I presumed you got yours in a pet shop.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's very nice.
Now, do you want to know what the result of winners and losers was?
Well, I think it's been gerrymandered, actually.
No, the final winners and losers competition, right? And don't forget, this is the fourth winners and losers competition that we've had over the course of the last 2 seasons, right? This was the one chance you had of getting back. It was very, very close.
Yes.
It went all the way down to the wire.
Yes.
It was 7-7 as of yesterday. But now I can reveal that after the voting closed at 10 o'clock this morning, 1,264 votes cast.
Yes.
The winning margin is by 54% to 46%.
Yes.
And I'm afraid it's in my favour.
Well, I see. I don't understand that. I can't understand the voting.
What do you mean you can't understand it?
Well, it's
one
doesn't
man,
make any
one
sense.
vote. One woman, one vote.
Mine was so good.
Yours were terrible.
Mine was so good.
Well, you got it wrong. The caddy that you nominated and
Yes.
said that he'd been with Henrik Stenson for 20 years.
Yes.
He's only been with him for 4 years.
Yeah, but I mean, 4 years is a long time to stick with a guy.
No, it's not.
I think that actually there's been a bit of gerrymandering here. I think what you've done is, I think you've stolen a few listeners from this particular slot. All my loyal overnight listeners,
Yeah.
you know,
What,
that
the Porky Tribe, you
the
mean?
Porky Tribe and all that would have voted for me.
Most of them are not allowed out during the day.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it?
You know.
And I think you've taken on a few people there. But anyway, look,
you'll just have to congratulate me as best you can, and as graciously as you can, because that's the end of the competition.
I'm not doing that.
You're not going to congratulate me?
No, I'm not, no.
Okay.
No.
So,
I think you're an unworthy winner.
Do you?
I think you're a fat bomb, and I don't think you should have been allowed to have won
I'm
that
afraid
competition.
it's 4-0. We can devise a new version of the game for when the new season begins.
What do you mean it's 4-0?
It's 4-0 because we've had 3 previous encounters in winners and losers, all of which I have won.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, all of which I've won. Yeah. Don't you remember that we had to reshoot the... because I was winning by such a big margin at Christmas that we decided to reshoot the game.
I wonder whether...
And you said you wanted to do that.
I wonder whether this game's become a bit silly and run its course.
Yeah.
I think it's probably run its course.
Well, perhaps you'd like to come up with an idea for a new game.
Well, I think I will, actually, yes.
Why don't you do that?
I will. I think
You've got about a month, I would say, to do that.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think we have, actually, because we must have a brain teaser every show.
Yeah.
Right? So,
but I'm going on holiday soon, so we don't have no point starting one before I go away.
Yeah, where are you going on holiday?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, OK.
I don't wish to broadcast where I'm going on holiday. Is that all right with you?
I'm going to tell you about holidays later in the show.
Are you?
Because there's some very exciting, well, actually quite depressing news about how you book your holidays
Is
these
it
days.
exciting or depressing?
It's depressing, actually.
OK. How about this from Josh? Porky mate, he says, while Conte was with Italy at the Euros, Jose already had his team picked. Conte's had not even been there for a week.
I totally agree.
Becky says this, the only thing giving us Chelsea fans a headache is Porky's analysis. Porky has jumped on the Mourinho love train.
No, I haven't. What I've jumped on is the sense of energy I see pouring out of Old Trafford and the sense of, I would say, complete and utter moribundity coming out of Chelsea.
Moribundity. Now, Neil says this, as all Chelsea fans know, Michael Pointless Emanalo has always been an interfering problem. Jose hated him, apparently.
Is that right?
What do you think of that?
Right, now then, I want to tell you, everybody, this is the Two Mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. And in a hurry, well, Wix's free 1 hour click and collect means that you can have your order ready so you're back on the job in no time at all.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mics and we're in for Colin Murray all week. We've been talking about the battle of pre-season mind games and Porky thinks Chelsea are not winning it. We'll be talking some more about that a little bit later on. Coming up in this hour though, we'll be talking Russia, of course, because they've been up to some very, very dodgy stuff indeed.
It's just astonishing.
Absolutely amazing. It's like something out of a spy novel, right?
It is, yeah.
It really is. We'll be asking you precisely what is going to happen to them and whether they should in fact be banned from the Olympics, which is fast becoming the Dud Olympics, I think, isn't it? 08717 33 344. Ask Porky coming up as well. If you've got any questions you want answered, any problems you need solving, he is here to help. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out. A bit of a problem with the podcast yesterday, which a few people complained about.
Well, that's your department, obviously.
Well, of course, whenever it goes wrong, it is my department. Whenever it goes well, you claim the credit for it.
No.
But all I can say is that nobody has yet been able to work out why, after 40 minutes of the podcast yesterday, inexplicably, it suddenly reverted back to Sunday's show. And then about another 10 minutes after that, it went back the other way and went back to yesterday's show.
See, I regard us as forward-looking, not going backwards.
Yeah, I think it might be something to do with the heat.
It could be something to do with the heat.
You know?
Talking about the heat.
Yes.
Talking about the heat.
Yes.
Now, you're always having to go at me and saying that, I have delusions of grandeur.
Well, you do.
And that, you say that I pompously boast that I drive expensive cars.
Which
and
you do.
live in penthouses and all that.
Which you do.
But the one thing that I've never done, is decided I'm going to join the swimming pool set on the cheap.
The swimming pool set?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting reports from deepest Sussex.
Oh, yeah.
That you have actually installed a swimming pool in your garden.
Well, in this weather, I mean...
But it's not a real swimming pool.
Well, it's not a sunken swimming pool, no. It's an above-ground swimming pool.
You've what?
It's an above-ground swimming pool.
You've built an above-ground swimming pool?
It's an above-ground swimming pool.
Well, how long did that take to build?
I didn't build it.
Well, who did?
I did. I get other people to do these things.
And
I haven't got time.
Well, hang on. Well, I mean, you can't just install a swimming pool in your garden.
Yeah, you can.
You need filtration.
Yeah.
You
It's
need
all done.
water.
It's all
You
taken
need
care of.
chlorine.
It's all done.
Yeah, rubbish.
It's all done.
Rubbish.
Yeah, you buy one of these pools. Now, there's two ways
What
of
do you
doing
mean
it.
buy? You go down the old garden centre and buy a swimming pool.
Well, you can do.
Rubbish.
You can. You see, you have no knowledge of this because, one, you have no outdoor space apart from that sort of, tiny, minuscule kind of roof garden of yours, which you couldn't literally swing a cat
Excuse me,
in.
my roof garden.
Your roof garden, which you couldn't swing a cat in. What would you say the dimensions of your roof garden were? Like 4 feet by 6 feet?
No, because it goes around two parts of the building. You've only ever seen one part of it in a picture. No, It's extensive. But anyway, go on.
Extensive, yeah. So anyway, you get one of these swimming pools. You can buy them online, actually, and they get delivered to your house.
What, on the back of a lorry?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter whether it comes on the back of a lorry. It's not a massive pool. It's about, in diameter, I would say it's something like maybe 15 feet.
So it's like a big bucket with water in it, then?
Well, it's
not a swimming pool.
It's a circular area of water. I mean, I call it a swimming pool. What would you call it?
Well, why don't the sides collapse if you put all the water in it?
You don't know much about physics, do you?
I do. I know everything about physics. I took physics at O-level.
Well, you set the side. You took O-level physics.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Well done.
I know
What grade did you
the
get?
coefficient of linear expansion of metal.
What is it?
What? No, I mean, not precisely. I know what the theory of it is.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once you fill anything with water, the sides stay up. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, but there's pressure on them to burst out. That's why dams have to be built.
Yeah, but these things are purpose-built to be swimming pools. I mean, this is not knowledge that anybody else doesn't have. So, it's not like some kind of, handed down from the ancient Egyptians.
I imagine it's the size of an oversized sink, is it?
No, it's the size, as I said, it's about 15 feet in diameter, which means it's quite a large circle. You get a ladder, right, so that you can go up into it and dive into it. It has a filtration system.
Smash your head on the floor.
No, you wouldn't. It has a filtration system which keeps it clean.
How much does this thing cost?
A couple of £100.
Really?
Yeah.
That is astonishing.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm going to be spending the weekend in it, I can tell you that.
Okay, now look, I accept that it's cool to get into a pool and that kind of stuff, but you have to remember that you can't get into a huge quantity of water, which is the same temperature as that comes out the tap.
What do you mean?
Do you have a heating element?
No. Have you seen the weather?
No, but I'm telling you...
If you fill a cup with water and put it out there on the fire escape, it will be hot within about 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, does it have chlorine in it?
It has chlorine, it has a filtration system, and all you do... And it has a cover as well, so it doesn't get leaves falling into it and all that kind of thing.
How long does it take to fill?
I don't know. I didn't fill it.
Oh, I see. You have people to do this for you.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. But you've got two boys who are 9 and 12 or something like that.
I mean, they're quite useful
They must
at that
like
kind of
splashing
thing.
around in it.
Yeah, they love it. Yeah, they spent all out yesterday afternoon in it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Funnily enough, I was FaceTiming with them yesterday.
FaceTiming?
FaceTiming. There's something else you know nothing about, right?
That's periscoping, isn't it?
No, it's not periscoping. No, Periscope is more aligned with Twitter. FaceTime is more aligned with iPhone.
So you're the swimming pool set now, and you're FaceTiming your...
Face boiling?
What are you doing? Sorry.
FaceTiming.
FaceTiming with your boys in the swimming pool.
Yeah, well, they weren't...
But you're saying to everybody, look. Sorry, I can't talk to you now. Just FaceTiming with my boys at the pool in the grounds of my home.
Well, this is how I talk to my family because I've been working so much. I haven't seen them, right? This is part of the problem. But one of the things that happened while I was FaceTiming them and the dog, by the way...
FaceTiming them? I'm FaceTiming the dog?
Well, it's a perfectly good word to use.
Hang on, you've not been looking after your dog.
Well, the dog hasn't seen me for over a week now, and he gets a bit... He pines for me.
And what happened to it?
He actually misses me more than my children do.
And what happened to it recently?
Well, as I was watching him...
And you weren't there to help?
Well, as I was watching him, right, he likes to fool around with wasps and flies. He chases after them, right?
He's a stupid dog.
And he is a stupid dog. He's a Labrador. What would you expect? And just as he was bending down to try and sort of, nibble away at this wasp, it stung him.
Oh,
the wasp stung him. And the dog's never been stung in his life, right? So it's the first time in 2 years he was stung. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on camera. Because he just started sort of shaking his head and licking his lips. He didn't know what had happened.
Well, I think we need to give this to a wider audience, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what happens if a dog gets stung by a wasp. He doesn't seem to have suffered any long-term
No, but I mean, the dog
damage.
Doesn't have copyright on those pictures. I think we should share them with the audience.
I'm not sending out pictures of my dog being stung by a wasp.
Why not?
Because I'm not willing to do that.
You just said it was very funny.
It is very funny, but it was funny as a video, but I wasn't filming it. I was only watching it.
Oh, I see.
It's like watching something
live.
Again. You don't understand FaceTime, do you?
Can I just say this to you?
Yeah.
I hope somebody's treated that dog, because when you get a wasp sting...
Yeah.
Was it a wasp or a bee?
It was a wasp.
A wasp. When you get a wasp sting, the wasp sting leaves...
Stinger.
It leaves a little sort of probe in the your skin.
Sometimes it falls
And when
out.
I was a kid, for instance, whenever it happened to me, my mum rushed to the medicine cabinet, got the iodine, or iodine, is it?
Iodine.
The iodine bottle out.
That yellow stuff.
Yeah, but when they put it on your wound, it stung like mad. It drove you mad.
I think she just did that. She wanted to hurt you.
Well, I'm not sure about that. But
the problem about the difference between dogs and people
Yes.
is that dogs are generally a little bit more kind of resilient when things like that happen to them.
yeah, but you shouldn't be walking around with that wasp thing. Now, if
I
you've
don't
got
think it is sticking out of his face.
now you've got a swimming pool, will you be inviting members of the TalkSport staff, maybe the production staff here, down to a swimming pool party this Sunday afternoon?
No.
Why not?
Because that's not what I do.
Well, I thought
I'm not going to be there, am I?
Well, I thought why not on
Well,
Sunday?
you mean, Sunday?
Sunday,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
maybe on Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, you like to. I thought you like to share these things with people. You're accusing me of being a hermit and not sharing things. You're going to be sharing, are you?
Well, I mean, it's not up to me, really,
Shall I
is
come
it?
down and bring my swimming costume?
No, I don't think that would be necessary.
Why?
I don't think anyone wants to see the state of you in a swimming costume. Can you
Yeah.
imagine the kind of the glare coming off your white, sort of horrible skin?
No.
You don't like the sun, anyway.
I don't like the sun, actually.
I
no.
mean, we were just actually negotiating whether we should do a show from the rooftop of TalkSport Towers while this weather is on.
Count me out, buddy.
Set up the roof. Well, you've been up on the roof on TalkSport.
Say again?
Have you been up on the roof?
Yes, I have, years ago, because I was doing a commentary on a game of football opposite on the five-a-side.
Right, so, so it's quite suitable up there.
Yeah, it's quite suitable,
Set up a little Pim's bar, put an umbrella up.
Well, I think that's all a load of nonsense.
In fact, we could have our own little swimming pool up there.
I don't think so, mate.
Be very nice.
The roof would collapse, so...
Josephine says the Tangle teaser is the same colour as MG's shirt. Très chic.
Yes, it is, yeah. Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Gabrielle says, Mike studied O-level physics. I bet Stephen Hawking's very worried.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. A very interesting man. Look, what I was going to say is on the weather scene like this, it makes it incredibly unpleasant to move around. And I am quite seriously thinking that as we have a function this afternoon, right, I may just find the nearest hotel to here and just book in tonight because I can't bear the travelling, honestly.
Book into a hotel?
Yeah, because do you know what I can't stand? I can't stand the great unwashed masses that use public transport in this country.
The ones that don't use deodorant.
Well, it's been a little personal, that kind of stuff, but I mean, it is difficult in this sort of heat. And do you know, the strangest thing is, when you go to hot countries, you don't have a problem because they're so used to it.
Well, they have air conditioning.
Yeah, well, they have a bit of air conditioning.
I mean, if you're in somewhere like New York City, you don't go anywhere that doesn't have air conditioning.
Well, that's absolutely true. Right, I put out the picture of you and the Tangle teaser.
You did.
I've said, look at the state of this man, and James says, fair point, Porky, but then, have you looked in the mirror recently? You fat slob. That's not really nice, is it?
It's fairly accurate.
For one of the listeners to say just right.
I think I look all right in that picture, actually. I see my hair, generally speaking, doesn't look as if it needs anything done to it, does it? Do you not think?
Well, it looks
wild.
It
cascades naturally around my head.
Yeah, but you see, if you hold a camera a fair way away from your head and take a picture, and then not looking around the back of your head, which is the real mess, then people can be fooled.
You think the back's a mess? See, I can't see the back. You're saying it's a mess?
Well, I can, yeah, it is a complete mess, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll talk more about that. Have a look on Twitter. We'll retweet it out at the two mics. Don't forget, of course, that on the Wix phone-in, we send £100 Wix a gift card to the best caller we get every day, as decided by Mr. Parry. He hasn't decided yet who he's going to give it to. This is TalkSport. At the two mics, it's also coincidentally where you can send your questions to Ask Porky on.
Indeed, it is.
Which we'll be doing a little bit later on. Now, the big story of the day, of course, in the world of sport is the Russian doping scandal and what has been going on, particularly at Sochi at the Winter Olympics, where an elaborate scam seems to have been sanctioned not only by the Russian Sports sort of Federation, but also by the Russian government, involving the Secret Service and everything else. Let's talk to Rob Harris from the Associated Press, who could tell us a bit more about what it's going to mean for the Russians and the Olympics. Rob, a very good morning to you.
Morning to you.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. I mean, the questions that people seem to be asking would seem to be stupid questions, wouldn't they? You know, should Russia be banned from the Olympic Games? Well, it's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, it's whether anyone watching the Olympics in a few weeks can trust what they're watching and also believe in the purity of the competition on the fields and on the track. And obviously what the report from yesterday shows is particularly the Russian team over the last few years has been masterminding this incredible scheme to deceive and to cheat the world.
Right. I mean, the thing that staggers me is that the system they appear to have used is not particularly high-tech. You know, I mean, basically they open the top of a bottle, which is meant to be tamper-proof, take out the real sample, put in a different sample, put the top back on, and nobody can tell the difference.
Yeah, and when sort of forensic investigations, detailed investigations were made of these bottles, they could actually see what was going on, but not at the time. Even though, as normal at every games, the authorities hail the greatest anti-doping operation, the cleanest games they always do, and they always sort of, congratulate themselves. But what this has shown is just the true level of deception you can undertake to actually dupe everyone, and even the doping authorities. And then this only came to light, as with so much in the past about FIFA and others, because of media investigations. It wasn't instigated by the World Anti-Doping Agency in these investigations. It was whistleblowers going to the media.
Yeah, it was, Rob. I mean, if Freddie Forsyth was putting a plot together for a new book, he wouldn't use any of these facts because they're too ridiculous. For instance, holes in the wall where you pass the sample through and somebody changes it and passes you one back. No CCTV cameras in the laboratory. No independent witnesses. I mean, it's ludicrous, isn't it?
Yeah, it would seem farcical if you'd sort of suggested this as a plot a few years ago before Sochi, and you think the Russian government and the state would have far bigger things to be dealing with. But what it shows is actually just how insignificant sport is to countries as a form of soft power.
Definitely, and if you don't mind me just dwelling on that point and just moving on a bit, mate. How much does the Olympic movement worry about the political consequences of banning Russia? Mr. Putin is a very dangerous man on the world stage, in the sense that we've all seen what happened in areas like the Crimea, and two things could happen. One, it could destabilise the world political setup, but two, it could lead to the eventual disintegration of the Olympic movement altogether. Yeah, well, obviously this move against Russian sport for GP is not only involving sport, but obviously it comes against the backdrop of the significant tensions that are ongoing between the West and Russia over various geopolitical issues, and this just adds to the mix, and that's why it's seen in Russia, particularly as the West against them on multiple fronts. But I think that's why it makes it such a challenging decision for the IOC today, as they decide whether or not to kick the team out, every Russian athlete out of Rio, because they know that there are potential consequences to how it will be seen if they return to the era of boycotts.
Well, the problem is, Rob, is it not, that, while there is, I suppose, no great thirst for punishing people who haven't done anything wrong, as far as we know, this is about an endemic problem within the Russian sports business, right? It's not just about whether individual Russian athletes might be clean. It's about the fact that we now know that Russia, as an entity, is willing to cheat the system in order to get more medals.
Yeah, and I think if you're putting this in front of, say, a court and they're saying the balance of probabilities, can you trust any of Russian sport when it's been shown to be so widespread across everything, including football? And then they've always insisted, the football authorities, whenever I've asked people from the 2018 World Cup just a few weeks ago about the doping inquiries, they've always insisted Russian football's never been involved, there's no link to Russian football. And what this report in particular showed yesterday is that there were cases of doping in Russian football that were covered up, and we're only 2 years away from the World Cup there and 1 year away from the Confederations Cup there, so the big issues as well for FIFA is to decide, can they trust this country that they're entrusting their sort of $5 billion plus event to.
I'll tell you what, mate, you'll have Roy Hodgson on the phone quite soon, blaming this situation on the failure of the England team at Euro 16. But quite seriously, I can't see, Rob, how Russia in any way can be admitted into the games with this huge volume of evidence against them, because you've got government ministers who are actually put in charge of the doping situation. The whole thing, Russia itself is a state-sponsored doping country, so there's no way in the world they should be admitted, is there?
Well, that's going to be the key thing for the IOC to decide today, and Thomas Bach, the IOC president, has always talked about the line between collective responsibility and individual justice. And also what makes it actually hard for the IOC to make that decision today is the fact that this week the Court of Arbitration for Sport is hearing appeals from Russian track and field competitors who are appealing against them being banned from Rio, because obviously the athletics team has already been banned by the IAAF from Rio. This is now about whether to ban the whole Russian team of hundreds from the Games. And what we could see is it hinging on, in a few days' time, what CAS rules on these athletes in terms of whether they can kick every Russian athlete out of...
Is there going to be any country in the world or any individual athlete principled enough to say, well, if Russia go to the Olympics, we're not, I'm not. It's just not a level playing field, and it makes a farce of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very tough issue, particularly when you look at, say, British athletes who've received lottery funding and various other cash over the years to sort of build up to Rio, whether they can take such a unilateral decision to decide against going to something they've been working for the whole lives, and whether they should actually suffer. And the other issue, whether you see some sort of protests in Rio if Russians are there. I remember I was in Sochi a couple of years ago, and the Paralympics happened just after the invasion of Crimea, and you had Ukrainian athletes sort of turning their backs when the Russian anthem was played, which was highly visible on Russian soil I think in front of Putin, if I remember rightly, at times. So we could see things like that go on in Rio, and it could be quite a volatile atmosphere if the Russians do go.
Well, it could. And what do you make of this development about, I'm sure you've seen this story, Rob, this morning, about Russian athletics saying that basically they're stripping one of their fastest Russian marathon runners, Lilia Shubakova, of her various titles, and she may have to pay back some of the money. I mean, is this them sort of working some kind of interference on this?
Well, I think what we're seeing is, and we saw with Putin yesterday announcing he's going to suspend people implicated in the report, is giving a sort of signal, trying to send a signal to the world that they are taking action, or just small amounts of action. So, say the IOC can say, look, we can see the Russians are reacting to this and taking it seriously, and they are actually already swiftly taking measures to try to tackle the problem, although others' reports showed the problem was actually from the government level to start with.
Right. Fascinating stuff. Rob, listen, thank you very much indeed for that. Rob Harris there, reporter for the Associated Press. The Russians trying to sort of implicate various individuals in the whole thing. But, I mean, it's all just smokescreen for everything they've done, isn't it?
I mean, isn't Russia a fascinating country?
Oh, it's fascinating is one word.
Well, yeah, it
is. It is fascinating.
It's just fascinating because they live by a code which is not applicable to any other race on Earth.
No.
It simply isn't.
Exactly. And they certainly have not been in any way infiltrated by the PC brigade.
No. It is Mother Russia, and that is it. And they do what they want to do in the way they want to do it. But I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Vladimir Putin, President Putin, leader of Russia, says, "Oh, I'm really upset about this, and there will be political consequences for the ministers who've been named." What he means is, you idiots, we didn't get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're off to Siberia.
Down the salt mine. Chain you to a wheelbarrow.
Chain you to your wheelbarrow.
Absolutely right. This is the Two Mics. We're in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. The new Wix catalogue is out now with hundreds of new products and a brand new live. It's got everything you need to do your project right. TalkSport, we are the Two Mics, and of course there will be a podcast, hopefully a podcast that doesn't have any glitches or gremlins in it, but sometimes these things happen in the hot weather, because the hot weather out there is doing a lot of weird things to a lot of weird people.
What's that got to do with a mixing desk in this, in this building?
You realise you're going down a road that I can't have you going down. We can't have me having to explain to you any kind of technical issues.
Well, you couldn't anyway.
I mean, you haven't even been able to work your phone for the last 3 days. Did you not send out an apology yesterday?
I did,
and say, look, I can't get on Twitter at the moment because my phone doesn't work.
I couldn't understand it.
What's wrong with your phone?
It stopped working.
Yeah. It's probably the heat.
No, it's not the heat. I wasn't getting any updates on Twitters, and then my emails stopped coming in. So I went to Carphone Warehouse.
Oh, did you?
Excellent people.
Are they?
But the thing is, the minute I walked in, it clicked into their Wi-Fi automatically. Right. So it started working. So I apologised to the guy and said, I'm really sorry for bothering you. I thought my phone wasn't working.
So the Wi-Fi hasn't been working then?
Well, I don't usually use Wi-Fi. I use 4G, you see.
Well, don't use Wi-Fi when you're in your house.
No.
Haven't you got Wi-Fi at home?
Of course I have.
Well, why don't you use it then?
Because it works on 4G perfectly.
No, I know, but then you pay extra money for the data on that.
What, do you?
Yeah, of course. It's not free, is it?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Anyway,
how much is your phone bill every month?
Oh, I don't know, about £100. Why? Anyway,
£100.
Yeah, but
I'm
I've
an idiot.
No, but I've got landline phones which look after stuff as well.
No, I know, but if you use your Wi-Fi at home, which you're already paying for, your phone bill will be reduced because you'll stop using the 4G.
Yeah, but
you don't even know that.
Yeah, but if I could find the Wi-Fi button, which I did once, and you hit it, then it comes up and says, "What's your password?"
Well, then you just put your password in.
But I haven't got a password.
Yes, you have.
Well, everybody's
got one.
Well, where do you get that from?
Find it on the back of the router.
On the back of which router?
The router in your house.
Oh.
Do you know? Have you got a router in your house?
Yeah, I've got a white box.
Right. Well, on the back of the white box,
there'll
be a series of letters.
You think I should do that every time I go home?
Yes.
But that would...
Well, no, not every time. You do it once,
yeah.
and then every time you go home, it clicks back in.
I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. I'll have to...
God.
Anyway, listen.
No, I haven't got time to discuss anything else.
No, except that I mustn't jump in your swimming pool because people say if I did, there'd be a tsunami in Sussex.
Very true.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah. Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Ask Porky coming up in the next hour or so. Of course, what you've got to do is send us a tweet at the Two Mics. Look for us on the Facebook page as well, the Two Mics, and you can get your questions answered live on air by the Porkmeister, who is, of course, here to help. David says this: Porky and Wi-Fi has got me laughing. I thought he was a highly intelligent person.
What?
Ha ha!
I am.
And Jeff, who's an Arsenal fan, says, "Oh my God, £100 a month for his data. Unbelievable."
Well, no, that's not. That's the phone bill.
Yeah, but that's everything, though, isn't it? But most people, you'll get a deal from most mobile phone companies for, at least, 20, 25 quid.
Okay.
So you're paying definitely at least 4 times over the odds.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's a useful bit of kit, obviously.
Neil says, just caught a bit of this morning's show. Porky to dive into MG's pool if Dr. Banner allows.
Yeah, well, that's right, yeah.
And Jamie says, what was Mike Parry expecting? An Olympic-sized swimming pool in a garden?
Well, to have it like a flat pack you bought it. Where'd you buy it? B&Q or somewhere like that?
I can't remember.
Listen, I want to talk to you about something. You're going on holiday soon, right?
Yes.
And that forces me to go on holiday, okay?
Well, you don't go on holiday.
No, I don't like going on holiday.
Have you found somewhere? You were looking for somewhere cold, maybe?
I'm going to go, because the way that the Open Golf panned out, and I saw the sort of weather conditions there in allegedly July, I'm going to go to Scotland.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go to...
well, hang on, we go to Scotland in August, don't forget. We go to Edinburgh.
Yeah, we're only going to the festival. But I'm going to the West Coast, the rugged West Coast, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm going to find somewhere like Port Patrick or somewhere like that too.
Yeah, well, that's the southwest, isn't it? Arran's very nice.
Arran, okay.
The Isle of Bute.
Yeah,
very
Isle of
nice
Bute,
and not too far away.
Yeah, over the sea to Skye.
You can go to Skye. You can go over the bridge to Skye now.
Over the bridge to Skye, that's right, yeah. Let the wind blow low, let the wind blow high.
In fact, you know what? There's a fantastic...
I've just come down from the Isle of Skye.
There's a fantastic Michelin-starred restaurant up there called the Three Chimneys.
Is there? Where's that?
Skye.
In Skye? I'll have a look for that.
But the problem is, it's like from Portree, which is the main town.
Portree?
It's a massive drive. It's about a 2-hour drive around beautiful countryside. And gorgeous mountains.
Sounds
but the
good.
great thing about the Three Chimneys is they serve you all your food on kind of stone plates.
Oh, well, I don't like that.
Well,
I'd ask them for a real plate.
Yeah,
I've done that before. I was in a restaurant down on the coast recently. They served me on a bit of wood.
A plank.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I said, no, get me a plate.
But you know what they have? Is they have a loch there which has got langoustine in it, right? And they pull the langoustine out of the loch and put them straight...
Langoustine is like the vegetable, is it?
No, it's like a shellfish.
Oh, is it?
It's
okay.
sort of mini lobster.
Is it? Hey,
Beautiful.
listen, that's interesting, that, because guess what? I was reading one of my journals about birds. You know the bird called the oyster catcher?
The oyster catcher, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Big bird, huge bill, for obvious reasons and all that. You know the one thing it doesn't do?
Like the last time I went to a bar with you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You know one thing it doesn't do?
What?
It doesn't catch any oysters. The oyster catcher can't catch oysters.
Well, you can't really catch oysters, can
No,
you?
it doesn't. I mean...
They're on the seabed.
Everybody thought the big bill was so that it could crack open the shells of the oysters and get the pearl of the oyster
maybe
inside.
That's what it is.
No, it's not. They don't. They don't even like oysters.
Well, why is it called an oyster catcher?
I don't know, but they just don't. I found that out. Now listen,
like Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah. Now you're going on holiday, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember as a kid? Perhaps you don't actually, because you had a rather unconventional childhood with your slightly bizarre parents and that kind of stuff.
They were a bit odd, yeah.
But my parents used to say, right, we're going to Mallorca, and it was a sort of reward. You had to work hard at school, or else they wouldn't take you on the plane and all that kind of stuff,
See, that's a terrible thing
to
say
well,
to
I know,
a child,
yeah,
isn't it?
it is,
we won't take you on the plane.
You're not taking you on the plane unless you have a good school report in the summer. But anyway, then, they'd bring home all these brochures. I loved those brochures. Right from the age of about, 10 or 11. I loved those brochures.
What do you mean, like the package holiday ones?
Well, it showed glamorous
Thompson's
hotels.
Sun and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Glamorous hotels in far-flung places, always sun shining, sparkling water in the swimming pools, big white hotel buildings, balconies.
And how many times?
Never been on a balcony before in my life.
And how many times did you then arrive at said hotel only to discover it didn't look anything like the brochure?
Actually, we never had that experience, I have to say. We never, because we always went like a pretty decent hotel. But then, of course, when I got to like 17 and was going for the first time myself, got all these brochures, and I thought, God, we've got to go to a fantastic, and all these glamorous women sitting around swimming pool in these beautiful bathing costumes and all that kind of stuff,
Well, where were you going?
Where did we go? I think we went to Mallorca. Right. Arenal in Mallorca,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the point of the story is they're now getting rid of them. They're all gone. They've pulped them.
Well,
there won't be any more. There's no more holiday brochures.
Well, I'm not surprised.
And that distresses me because it's part of my growing up.
Well, maybe you could start collecting them.
Culture. No, I won't collect them. What do you want to collect them for?
Well, because you collect loads of old rubbish.
That's a bit
You've got loads of old rubbish in your collections at home.
Rubbish.
Your collection of watches. We're going to do Watch of the Day coming up in the next hour as well.
We have to do that, yeah.
But also you collect
a real story to tell about today's watch.
Old Everton programmes.
Well, everybody collects their club's programmes. Mine go back to 1938. No, what I was going to say is, what I used to do is, because I'm smarter than the average bear.
Oh, yeah.
So, when I was about 17 or 18, we started going on our own, going with the lads. So, you go and get
But how did you pay for the holidays when you were that age?
I used to work at a petrol station, I told you, at weekends.
No,
Saturday
but did you pay like in instalments, though, is what I'm saying?
No, you saved up 65 quid, and that was the holiday.
65
quid?
Yeah,
you got 65
quid. That must have been a great holiday.
Well, actually, it's quite expensive.
Top of the range.
Yeah, it was, 2 weeks in Mallorca for 65 quid.
Yeah.
But the point is, what I used to do is, to get these brochures, and then, as a sort of, to ingratiate myself with the opposite sex, we'd go out to, like, the King's nightclub or something like that, and then I'd say, you've been on holiday yet?
You'd pull a brochure out your pocket.
No, not a brochure, but a page out of the brochure, which would show a 6-star hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And then I would say that,
Which was like, 75 quid?
Yeah, that's right, about 75 quid a fortnight, something like that. And I'd say, no, I'm off soon, and this is where I'm going, and, the lady friend would be dazzled, by the choice of my hotel.
This is a nightclub in Chester.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
doesn't
absolutely.
take much, does it?
But I tell you what we did one time, actually, ended up quite tragically. I had a mate called Jez Newton. And we were going on this holiday, I say about 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
And somebody told him, you won't believe this, somebody told him that actually it's a medical fact that you can drink yourself sober.
That is ridiculous.
No, it is. He believed it. He believed it.
Mm.
And I said, "Are you sure about this, Jez?" He said, "Well, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to make it." He ended up in hospital.
I'm not surprised.
He wouldn't stop drinking.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give it a break.
Sadly,
like
that's
that.
what a lot of people think these holidays are for.
That's right. Yeah, and he ended up in a clinic in Mallorca. I remember I had to go and see him, and he had a drip and all this kind of stuff.
Just the combination of the sun and the alcohol.
Yes, that's right.
We'll have to watch that this afternoon, actually, because it's not a very good place to be caught out drinking standing in the sun. Particularly when you haven't had much sun.
No, that's right. Yeah, there was a lot of dehydration involved. Yeah. But anyway, there won't be any more holiday brochures now.
I won't miss them because you can't find a travel agent now either. Nobody uses
There is one in the high street near me, and I don't know how they stay open because almost everybody now books everything online, don't they? Now, let me tell you, this is the Two Mics. We're in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. The new Wix catalogue is out now. It's got hundreds of new products and the brands that you love. It's got everything you need to do whatever project you're doing just about right.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mics. We're in for Colin Murray all week, of course. Coming up in this hour, Ask Porky is going to be here, so you can get your problems solved, you can get your quandaries quelled, all that sort of thing. We're also going to do Watch of the Day, where we have a look at Mr. Parry's wrist and see what he's wearing from his vast collection of timepieces. So far, nobody's been particularly impressed. I think today, though, he's finally pulled one out that might actually be worth some money. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Steve says this. Anyone else think Mike Parry's mate who believed you could drink yourself sober was actually Mike Parry?
No, it wasn't, no. Honestly, it wasn't.
One of the great tweets.
I'll tell you what, his name was Jez Newton.
Well, you don't have to give his name away.
No, he was a great guy. He went into retailing and in the food division, all that kind of stuff. He had a very good career.
Yeah.
But he just had this mad theory. And when he got there, he wouldn't stop drinking. And he was on this mission. He said, don't worry, in 3 hours' time, you'll all be still, out of your brains and I'll be sober.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
No, it didn't work. How about this from Neil? He says, here's Porky's budget every month. £100 phone bill, multiple Sky accounts, lottery tickets. No wonder Porky only wears cheap Pierre Cardin shirts.
That's a bit harsh.
Yeah, it's very true.
There's one here from Gabriel. And he says, OK, Mike, 2 weeks in Mallorca for 65 quid. Did you take your own cardboard box with you?
You probably slept on the beach. Tony says, what's langoustine? Some kind of vegetable. I haven't got an internet password, have I? Porky's plumbing new depths today.
But
Deepest depths.
Did I confuse it with linguine or something?
Linguine is pasta.
Oh, that's what I mean.
That's not a vegetable either.
Yeah, but I mean, is it not?
No, it's pasta.
But isn't it vegetable based, so to speak, like green? There's bits of green in it, isn't it?
You can get spinach linguine.
Oh, that's what I mean. Spinach. Green. Yeah, that's it. That's what I've had. Spinach linguine.
Is that what you've had?
Yeah, definitely.
Really? What did you have it with? Langoustine?
Yeah. No, probably. I always have pasta with bolognese.
Dear.
It's the only thing I like.
Well, you would have had green linguine bolognese.
I think I did, actually. I think
Really?
I,
That sounds like a mistake.
I tell you what happened to me once when I first went to a decent hotel as a young reporter on the Birmingham Mail.
Yeah. Well, better than the one we were in rugby.
Yeah, better than the one we were in rugby. Yeah, a bit better. And actually, it was the Europa in Belfast.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first time I was ever sent over to Ireland. But I was still on the Evening Mail. And
that was the one they kept blowing up.
It's the most bombed hotel in the world, 400 times in about 6 years. But I went in the restaurant that night, and I'd never actually been in such a class restaurant. It's sort of a 5-star restaurant. And I ordered, believe it or not, beef stroganoff.
Yeah. I believe it.
But I didn't know what beef stroganoff was.
Yeah.
So I ordered...
Very 70s dish, that.
Well, it was the 80s, actually, so it's probably appropriate. And then I said, yeah, this beef, what's this beef stroganoff? They said, well, that's very nice beef. You know, oh, that's great, okay, I'll have that. I said, and I'll have some sprouts, please, and some carrots. And they couldn't believe it, but they took it all down.
Yeah.
And they brought it all to the table.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it came with rice.
Did it come with rice?
Yeah, of course it
done.
did. Yeah, of course it did, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I had no idea, but anyway, there you go.
Absolutely. Now, let's have a look at your watch of the day, because, of course, this is something we've been doing now for
pretty impressive.
A week or so, because you've got so many watches, you want to show them all off.
Yes.
This started with a collection, which has to be said, was not exactly of the expensive variety.
Yes.
Yesterday, the watch you brought in was from Bench.
Yes.
What have you got for us today?
Right, well, today...
I'll take a picture of it in a minute and send it out.
Okay, let me just take it off here and show you. It's a marvellous watch, and it's a silver one. Silver watch, yeah.
Well, solid silver.
Solid... No, it's...
solid state.
Well, it's certainly silver-plated.
Silver-plated?
Actually, I took it off just before the show, and I folded it up and keep it protected. I found it, yeah. Right, here it is, right. Now,
why haven't you got it on your wrist?
I'm going to put it on my wrist right now, so you can take a picture of it, okay?
Yeah.
Now then, this is a Tissot watch. Tissot, and it is kind of... Yeah, I'll feel it. It's got weight in it. Go on, feel it. Look, see?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice... It's, again, a very simple face, I would say.
Okay.
What's the blue thing in the middle?
Well, I'm going to tell you what this is.
Yeah.
This watch was given to me by a sheikh.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, in Dubai.
Really?
And what happened was, I went out there on a trade mission. I was the head of the press association at the time, okay?
Yeah.
And I was invited out by Rolls-Royce.
Uh-huh.
Because they were selling the engines to all the airlines out there, you know?
Right.
So I went out there and on this trade mission, and what happened was, I met all these, really great guys who ran sort of Dubai. And what happened was the next day, there was a reception in the evening, before we came home. And after the reception, we all went out drinking. We went to the...
Not always the easiest thing to do in Dubai.
Is it the Dubai Creek Yacht and Golf Club?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, Dubai Creek Yacht and Golf Club. So we go there, and I realised it was about 4 or 5 in the morning, and I was drinking with all these chaps in flowing Arab robes.
Yeah.
I mean, very impressive dresser,
Were they drinking or were they not drinking?
They were drinking.
Were they?
I've no idea why. I don't know what religion they were or whatever that was, but it didn't matter. And at 6 o'clock, they said, we should go out for a round now, like of golf.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm not that good. And they said, it doesn't matter, So
Which
we
was
went
a
out.
bit of an understatement, to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the trouble was, this is what happened. What happened was, I was so intoxicated, right, that I didn't have any fears whatsoever. I went out...
So your swing was loose, in other words.
I went out almost to par to the first 9 holes.
Right.
On the way out, I went... I think I like 39 or something like that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have never played like that in my life.
Certainly knowing you and your golf, that is unbelievable.
I have never played like that in my life.
Yeah.
I had no idea why it was happening. These guys thought I was a bit of a hustler, because I'd told them I was useless and all that kind of stuff. They said, it's a good job we didn't have any money on this.
Right.
Because, but then the alcohol started wearing off. Yeah. And on the back 9, right, on the back 9, I'd probably came back in 80 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And what they said
was... a grand
was...
total of 129.
Something like that, yeah. And what they said was, I was such a gentleman because I was clearly a very, very good golfer. I'd gone out and embarrassed them with my brilliance on the way out, and they were trailing in my wake. So I deliberately changed my game to very bad on the way back, so as not to embarrass my host.
That's the sort of thing they would like you to do.
Exactly. And then when we got back, anyway, they said, thank you very much. And I was flying home in a few hours' time.
Yeah.
The plane was leaving at 11 o'clock or something like that.
Right.
And they said, we'd like to present you with a gift for playing here. And they gave me this.
Very nice.
And it's got the flag of Dubai on the front.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a chronometer. So whilst...
And is it correct at the time?
Well,
my
it
time...
is...
My
Yeah.
time says it's about 12 minutes past 12.
Yeah, well, what does that say?
It says about 12 minutes past 12.
Well, there you go, you see.
So that's the first watch I think you've shown us.
It says,
It actually has the correct time.
Do you know, I'm amazed that is on right, because I haven't corrected that this morning.
Yeah.
It must have been going for years.
Yeah, maybe.
But-
according to my research here, we're talking for a Tissot
Yes.
watch somewhere
Yes.
between 200 and 400 or 500 quid.
No, I think it's worth a lot more than that.
Well, I don't think so.
Well,
I'm
it
looking at bracelet watches.
I think it depends what model it is, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
well, I'm looking at all the bracelet watches
Yeah.
that Tissot sell.
And have you found one
and
that looks like this?
I haven't found one that looks exactly like that.
Well, there you go.
But the closest to it is
Yes.
around about 250, 300 quid.
Oh, no, I think it's worth much more than that.
Well, you would say that
This
because
is-
you're exaggerating it.
This
but-
is Tissot 1853. So,
1853.
Yeah, so it's
All
a
right.
substantial one. You
Well,
know
I'll
what I
put
mean?
that in and see if I get anything
Yeah.
back from that. But it's
Okay.
certainly a much better watch, much better standard of watch than anything we've seen so far.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Tissot 1853.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, you get anything back on that?
No, I've written Tosso in instead. That didn't come out
What
very
are you
well.
doing, you
Yeah,
idiot?
yeah.
And so I have to say that I wear this on, kind of special occasions,
Do
you
you?
know what I mean?
What, when you don't
Sometimes.
want to take the Rolex
Well, I
out?
don't take the Rolex.
Okay.
And I have to say, it's an abiding memory of a very, very pleasant evening and morning.
Oh, here you go.
Yeah.
Tissot 1853.
Yes.
Approximately £345.
345?
Yeah.
Well,
There
I
you
thought it
go.
was worth more than that.
So it's
yeah.
not worth as much as you thought.
No, it's
you
not
see?
really.
So they weren't such big friends as you made out. You seen
Well-
them, never heard from them again?
Oh, no, of course
They
not.
haven't invited you back?
No.
They didn't
I
think
mean,
you were that much of a gentleman.
well, they probably did, but why would I want to go back to Dubai for any particular reason, eh?
Well, we might go and do a show there.
Well, we might do a show there.
That may
that's true.
happen.
But anyway, that was,
Anyway, we're out of time now.
we out of time?
Yeah.
Oh, what's
Try not
it?
to keep banging the desk.
Okay, I will do, yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Okay.
Sam, we love you so. We want you to know that we're gonna miss your love the minute you walk out that door. So please don't go. Don't go. Don't go away. Please don't go. Don't go. I'm begging you to stay.
That sounds a bit like you singing, doesn't it?
No, that's not as good as me singing.
That's the
That
X
was
Factor
dreadful.
contestant Wagner. Do you
Who
remember
was
him?
that?
He was that Brazilian guy with the long hair.
Yeah, I do
who
remember
everybody
him,
thought
yeah.
was such a cool
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
even though singing might not have been brilliant.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've sung with some of the best, and I can tell you, I could have made a better effort of it than that.
Well,
but
don't
anyway,
be too dismissive.
what
because
is
some
behind the
Sunderland-
story?
because some Sunderland fans contacted Wagner
Oh, I see.
and asked him to sing a song on behalf of them,
Right.
trying to stop Sam Allardyce from leaving Sunderland.
Ah.
Now, we've talked about this a lot over the last few weeks
Certainly have.
because, of course, you think that the FA should either get a move on and get it done,
Well-
or stop, making Sunderland fans unhappy.
Well, I feel very sorry for Sunderland fans losing a manager who clearly is good for them. But England's needs are, that we need a great manager. I've always backed Sam Allardyce as being that England manager ever since they appointed Roy Hodgson for his second 2-year stint. So I do feel sorry for Sunderland, but Sam's the man for the job.
Yeah, absolutely right. But let's talk to Mark Bewick,
Yeah.
who's with Love Sunderland, and he's one of the guys that got Wagner involved in doing this. Mark, a very good afternoon to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, lads. How are you?
Yeah, not
Mark,
bad
very
at all.
good.
No expense spared there in that particular rendition of Don't Go.
No, I was going to do it myself, but I thought there's probably someone who can do a better job, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
well-
I mean, he might have got some backing music for it as well, mightn't he?
Yeah, well, you would have thought so, but it was quite a last-minute thing, so I wasn't too sure if he was actually going to get the job kind of early hours on.
Yeah, I
At
tell
the
you.
moment, so a bit of a rush production.
Tell you what, Mark, you and a couple of mates should have got yourself down to a karaoke pub and done it yourselves, and it would have been great. But nevertheless, it shows the passion with which you're determined to try and keep Sam Allardyce at your club. But is it looking a bit forlorn now, that hope?
It does look a bit bleak. I mean, to be honest, it's all been a bit doom and gloom with Sunderland for a few years, and Sam Allardyce seems to have kind of steadied the ship, especially towards the end of last season. So we're just trying to think of a bit of a light-hearted way of
Sure.
trying to get him. I mean,
Sure.
if it works, we'll be a bit gobsmacked using that video, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the chances are, they've interviewed Steve Bruce, haven't they, in the last sort of 24 hours or so, which for some reason they wanted to do, despite the fact that Sam Allardyce is kind of waiting to hear from them. And you'd have to think that Sam Allardyce has got one foot out the door, haven't you?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, it's been a bit quiet as well the last few days. There's not really anything being said by the club or kind of even by Allardyce on his Twitter feed, which is where we aimed the video initially. So it's looking that way anyway, especially the next few days. It'll
time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Mark, honestly, you're a great club, big club. You get terrific crowds when you're doing well, and you've had some managers who've really, got you to the brink. Peter Reid and Martin O'Neill and all that kind of stuff. You must have thought the Big Sam was in that mould, and now the search starts for another manager, perhaps. And that, again, is going to be another heartbreaking mission, isn't it?
Well, yeah, especially at the time of kind of the pre-season.
Well, exactly.
It's obviously important. We need to get kind of someone into the club who we know is going to be there the rest of the season, just to kind of bring in the players. But unfortunately, it looks like Sam is away. But I think the rumours are David Moyes is pretty much on standby to.
Could you get Wagner to do another one of please don't come if it's David Moyes?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think any of the Sunderland fans would appreciate it, to be honest. Especially the Newcastle fans have had a bit of ribbon off a few of the Newcastle fans on Twitter, but
didn't he sing one for them as well? I mean, I'm quite surprised you chose him, because I'm told that last year he did one for Newcastle United about Mitro.
Oh, okay, I can't remember seeing that. I remember the Newcastle fans had a Stay Andros tweet going about for Townsend a couple of weeks back, so we're just hoping that this proves a little bit more successful, to be honest.
Yeah, if it's any help to you, by the way, Mark, a few years ago when Everton were playing Sunderland, it was a Monday night game, and I went up for it because I did the show there the following morning, Tuesday, from Graham's house. Do you remember, Mike?
Graham who? Graham Courtney?
Graham Courtney, yeah.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I did it, and you were on the other end of the line.
No, I wasn't.
But anyway, what I was going to say Mark...
You keep reminding me of things that I wasn't involved in.
Yeah. We stayed at the Radisson Blu. Everton stayed at the Radisson Blu.
You're going to tell your whole life story?
Hang on, in Durham, right?
Yeah.
And David Moyes and I had a drink before the game, and he said, "Isn't this a beautiful part of the world?" Because the Everton coach had wound its way there from Newcastle Airport, you see. So
that's a great story, that, Mark, isn't it?
It is.
Would you like to hear any more stories like that?
Well, I mean, hang on. I've given you the first vote of confidence that Davy Moyes has expressed about potentially being the Sunderland manager. That must have lifted your heart.
Yeah, I mean, well, something with Moyes as well, the job he did at Everton, it's apparently brought them quite sustainable to the club, and that's what we've been missing. We've always been teetering above the bottom couple of places in the Premier League, so it would be good if, obviously, Allardyce probably would have done that, but if Allardyce isn't at the club anymore, someone like David Moyes is someone he would think would steady the ship.
Yeah, well, steadying the ship is one thing, but having ambition to do something really good is another, isn't it? And that's where really the gap between, being a comfortable supporter and an ambitious supporter lies, doesn't it?
Yeah, well with Moyes accepting the Man U job, I think we can't really question his ambition, because if he wanted to stay at the level of Everton, no disrespect to where Everton are in the league, then he wouldn't have taken the Man U.
Very harsh, Mark.
Yes.
They're doing a lot better than what we've been doing, but he's shown that he wants to kind of push on, and he's took the big job that's come along. So hopefully, once we've kind of solidified our place in the Premier League, then we can start.
Yes. Now, what about if England and the FA don't get their act together, which is not inconceivable, right? And the start of the season comes, and Allardyce is still the manager. What sort of reception is he going to get?
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the reception would still be good. I don't think anyone could blame him for kind of wanting the England job. It's something that he's been caught with for quite a while now. So I think as fans, we're realistic. We know that if England come calling, the chances he probably will go. But if for any reason he's still at the club, I'm sure the reception will be great.
Yeah. Well, let's hope your musical effort does some good. Yeah. And as I say, if people can go and find it, your Love Sunderland group is on Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
Is that where it is?
Well. Yeah, it's on. The video's currently on our Facebook page. Yeah.
All right, great.
Okay. Well, best of luck, right, Mark. Best of luck. Big club, got to be in the Premier League. Be lovely to see you there next season.
Here's one. Here's one from Made in London who says, "Why can't Big Sam do the England job part time? After all, it being made full time has hardly made a difference." Well, I think that's a good point, actually.
Well, there's always got to be an argument about what an England manager does in between groups of games. There's got to be. I don't know what they do. I don't know why they go to football matches. You can see more on the telly from 30 different angles, and it's just tokenism.
Yeah.
The England manager. He's up in the director's box.
I guess the problem would be if it wasn't a success, then he would be blamed for not spending all of his time doing one job.
Yeah, but you've got to be practical about it. You've got to say,
I agree with that.
Look, when I watch it on Sky, I get that tackle, I get that pass, I get that goal. He says I don't see all that if I don't go there.
No, exactly right.
They should say that.
Jay has something to say about your watch. He says, as you use sticky tape on the strap of this one, why does someone with genuinely nice watches keep so many of these rubbish ones?
They're not rubbish. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to say, I got this watch from a sheikh in Dubai, it's trash, and throw it away? Or you could have done what a lot of people would do and give it to someone as a Christmas present. Give
You don't tell me you haven't recycled Christmas presents before. I bet you have.
Oh, I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do,
Laura says, I think that's the best one so far.
Yeah, well, it is, yeah.
Somebody rather interesting is asking the questions, in fact, Stuart, who says, do both hands spin around at the same time when you wind it up?
No. You don't wind it up. It's a chronometer. It's like the roller.
Super.
Yeah.
And FFDU is very, very astute and observant, says, whose desk is that in the background with 2 bottles of plonk on it? Obviously, you don't have to reveal the answer to that.
Let me see.
But if you look at the picture...
Oh, yes, yeah.
Back in the...
I have to say, that's not an unusual sight in TalkSport Towers.
Yeah. So Alan says you've got it on upside down.
No, I haven't.
Jack says, Porky claiming that trip was a trade mission. The first event of the trip, we were sat around drinking. Quite obviously a bladderation mission.
Yeah, it was a bladderation mission.
And Juan says, so Mike Parry's watch was in fact a bribe from a sheikh.
Well, what was he bribing me to do? To play badly on the back nine?
No, he's obviously bribing you to promote whatever it was that you were out there freebieing about.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. Well, that was Rolls-Royce Motors, and believe me...
you've already given them 3, clips right here.
Yeah, no, they're a very, very,
very
straightforward company.
You're looking for a free roller?
No. Well, you had one, didn't you, once?
I did have one for a weekend,
yes,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it was. I didn't get to keep it, though.
No, exactly.
No. There we are. I'll tell you that story a bit later on. Now, coming up, it's time for Ask a Porky. So I hope you're ready to help some people out because we've got a load of great questions in. If you want to get one in now, you've only got about 2 minutes and it'll have to be excellent. This is the Two Mics. We're in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. If you're in a hurry, Wix free 1 hour click and collect means they'll have your order ready so you're back on the job in no time.
Excuse me.
Are you feeling all right? Have you suddenly got an attack of hay fever?
I've got an attack of hay fever, but I'll take the hysteristamine, whatever it's called, and sort it out. Yeah.
You mean antihistamine?
Antihistamine, that's
well,
it,
Mr. Brazil had some of that this morning.
Yeah,
it's making him feel a bit drowsy.
Made him feel a bit tired.
Yeah, well, yes. That's what he was saying anyway. Here's one from Jonathan, who's posted this on Facebook. Which public figure or celebrity is Porky most jealous of? Apart from old MG, of course.
Well, I'm not really jealous of anybody. I believe in live and let live, and if people are successful in life, I like them because I think success breeds success, and it breeds a society where we all aspire to be successful, and that, for me, is the positive way forward. I don't like losers or deadbeats or bums.
Oh, right, OK.
Yeah.
Neil says this. Yesterday, my 6-year-old came third in the running race and second in the obstacle race. Last year, he won the running race and cried at the obstacle race. Should I be happy he didn't cry or mad that he finished third in the running race?
No, you shouldn't be mad about anything your children do. If your children's competing and he comes third, that's a terrific plus because, OK, didn't finish first, didn't finish second, but third is the bronze medal. Post, if he was in the Olympics, he would have got a medal. But the thing is, I'm very, very much in favour of children being able to compete against each other at school at that age, and I don't want to see these daft rules brought in where they don't in case they hurt each other's feelings. It's called growing up and learning about life.
OK, White says this. Porky, I'm torn between listening to my conscience and selling myself out for personal gain. What should I do?
It depends what the issue is. Yeah. I mean, sometimes your conscience can lead you down a dead end because some of us do things which we think are expected of us. Some of us do things which we think will keep others happy. Some of us do things because we think it sounds like the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, what's good for you? You personally and your family, your wife, your children or whatever, you go with what you think will give you the best result for you and those around you.
Here's one from Twitter from 1894. What's the best way to deal with this heat wave?
Well, I hate heat waves. I really do. I've got some sort of pigment in my skin where I can't stand having sunlight.
Well, I think everybody's got some kind of pigment in their
skin.
Well,
no, mine makes it particularly unpleasant and irritable, really, to have sunlight on my skin. My eyes burn in sunlight, and I have to wear dark glasses and that kind of stuff. And I simply cannot, survive on a beach in heat and all that kind of stuff. So the only answer I can give you is to survive the heat wave is stay out of the sun. Stay inside, wear a big hat when you're out, which I do if I'm out walking on the downs or something like that, and drink lots. And I don't mean go and get bladderated, but I mean that you won't believe how quickly you can get dehydrated in this sort of weather. Don't drink alcohol, actually. I can't drink in this sort of heat because it dehydrates me. Drink loads of fruit juice and all that.
OK. And you might not understand this one because it's a bit sort of high-tech for you.
I will.
Martin says this. What's the quickest way to evolve my Squirtle on Pokemon Go?
I don't know what you're talking about there, mate, but Pokemon Go, I learnt about this week. Last week we had one of the lads from downstairs, from Virgin, telling us all about it, and as I understand it now, what you're chasing is coordinates. So if it was a James Bond film and you said, that's where the missile's going to hit the submarine, the coordinates are, that's where your Pokemon is.
OK, Tarek says this, my girlfriend Claire shrunk my £140 Hugo Boss jumper before I'd even worn it. What's an appropriate apology?
Well, I don't think you need an apology. It's obviously a mistake, unless she doesn't like you, unless she's decided that she's found out that you're doing too much bladderating or maybe a bit of the old, horizontal refreshment on the side, in which case she might have decided to shrink your jumper, but otherwise it's a mistake. And do you know what? That should bring you closer. The fact that you can smile and just get over it makes you a better person.
TMF says, how smart is the average bear?
Well, the average bear is pretty smart, really, and you've got to be smarter than a bear. If a bear was chasing you, the reason the bear's chasing you is it wants to eat you, and what bears do is they don't even kill you before they eat you. They get you to the ground, they put their left foot on your stomach, and then they use their right claw and their left claw to scoop away at the skin on your body. They like to eat you while you're still alive. The way you can protect yourself is to make yourself bigger. So you break 2 branches off the trees, and you hold them up at the end of your hands, put your coat on them.
This was not the question, by the way.
Yeah, and then flap that around in front of the bear, and the bear will run away.
OK. Here's one from D. Murph, who says, what do I do when my lane shows a red X?
Well, try not to drive through it. But if you've got Dixon or Doc Green, or a man who thinks he's Ironside, riding next to you in the passenger seat of a car on the M25 near Junction 16 at 7:15 in the morning on a Sunday, you have no option but to drive through a red X, because if you didn't, you would cause a major obstruction on a motorway where it's all being filtered down to one lane.
All right. It's my brother's 30th birthday, early September, says Tony on Facebook. We're going to the Arsenal Legends game, then heading into town. Where would you take a 30-year-old to celebrate their birthday?
Well, I'm not 30 anymore. But
haven't been for some time.
No, I would go somewhere where 30-year-olds get together. So I would say that would be somewhere in like the Covent Garden region. I would say that's a good area to go to. Soho is always great.
Yeah.
I think it attracts people a little bit older than 30 maybe. But remember, the front of that great Oasis album was pictured in Wardour Street in Soho.
Berwick Street.
Berwick Street,
yeah.
Was it? Yeah, that's right. Which that was called? Maybe something. What's
Definitely Maybe.
Definitely Maybe. And so if I were you, mate, I'd head for Soho. You can't have a bad night in Soho, believe me.
Ikram says this, I'm living in Marbella, but my wife wants to move back to London with our 2 little girls. What should I do?
Well, you should go, because to start off with, that means 3 out of 4 of the family want to go back to London. Secondly, this country is a very fine country. London's a very fine city. Spain is turbulent in its economy and hot all the year round. And I don't think your children, who it sounds to me like are of British descent, should be brought up in a country where there's 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 12 months a year heat. They should come back and enjoy the beautiful seasons that we enjoy in this country.
OK, here's one that came in on Facebook. Here's one from Matthew. It says, with Porky's fear of poverty and living in the gutter, would he be prepared to give it all up to do something in life that truly makes him a hero, to the point where we build statues of him and have a national Porky bank holiday? But remember, Porky, the Merc, the portfolio, everything else is gone.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'd have to know exactly what sort of mission you're on. I would go back and be a Spitfire pilot and climb into the cockpit of a Spitfire at 18, and I would fight the enemy. I would like to do that. If it was a time machine, that's what I'd do. But I can't see what else I could do to help satisfy those needs.
I think you meant actually doing good deeds, generally speaking.
Yeah, well, that's a good deed, isn't it?
Well,
fighting the enemy
killing
in a Spitfire.
No. Killing people's not a good deed.
It is if they're trying to invade your island and you didn't start it.
OK. All right, I think we might have to ask that one again with a bit more time.
That
was Ask Porky. Coming up tomorrow, of course, is Porky Vision,
yeah.
Which is the best TV review this side of Dubai.
Yeah.
This is TalkSport. Ian says this, so, Porky, sun, dark glasses, burning eyes, irritated skin, are you a vampire?
No, I'm not a vampire,
It's
actually.
quite a good question, that.
But it does irritate me, the sun. I went, when we were in New York, I once went on the Circle Line, which, for the benefit of millions of our listeners...
It's not an underground train.
It's not an underground train, it's a boat that goes around Manhattan. And it's a terrific trip, because it goes under all the bridges, and the guy tells you when they were built and all that kind of stuff, and points out all the fantastic buildings and all that. But I sat sat on the top. A young lady come over to see me in New York, and I said, we're going to do it. Completely forgot how open and exposed you are on the East River, the Hudson River.
On the water, especially.
On the water, yeah. And about a third of the way into it, I was physically wilting, and she said, "You all right?" I said, No, we can't stay up here. I can't do this. We're sitting on the top,
Yeah, you got to be very careful.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I don't like it. Now, listen,
if you were on a boat on the River Thames today, you'd have to be similarly careful as well.
You certainly would, because what people don't realise is the sunlight reflects off the water and comes back at you from all sorts of directions.
Indeed.
Now, I don't like to keep going on about the heap of junk that you drive round in London.
Well, hang on, haven't we got something to do now?
What's that?
We've got to give away a Wix voucher, haven't we?
Oh, a Wix voucher. That's a great idea. Let's do that. I think we should.
Because don't forget, every day, because of the Wix association that we have, you basically phone in, and the best caller of the day gets a £100 Wix voucher.
Well, there's only one caller today who
who is that?
Is qualifying for that.
Go on then. Sue from Manchester.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So Sue from Manchester, the Manchester United fan, is going to be the grateful recipient, you'd have to say, of a £100 Wix gift card.
That's great.
Because she was today's best caller.
That's right.
To the two mics, in for Colin Murray.
If you were given a £100 Wix voucher now, and bear in mind the house you live in, what would you go into Wix and buy to improve your home?
Maybe something to float in the swimming pool.
That's a good idea. I like that. Good answer. Maybe another set of ladders to get up.
Another set of ladders, maybe.
To get in there.
Yeah, that could work. Or maybe yet another outside sort of fire device.
Yeah, outside.
Because I've got two now.
Excellent.
You can't have enough of those.
You can't have enough of those.
Because you can sit out in the evening as the night cools.
Indeed.
And just keep yourself warm.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Right. Get back to the heap of junk you drive around.
The heap of junk is a bit harsh.
Well, it is. And
I drove it all the way to Rugby and back to London without any problems.
I accept it's a jalopy that you use locally, and that you have
I don't use it locally. I drive it wherever I go.
Yeah, and you have a much better car in your country place, okay?
Yeah.
But do you know, a recent survey, which I found in one of my journals, says that half of motorists loathe their cars.
I'm not surprised.
They're either frightened they're going to break down, they don't like being in them because they don't think that they're particularly good-looking and promote their image and all that kind of stuff. And, there's some of them actually have an objection to having to pay the amount of money they have to pay to keep the car on the road.
Well, I think the problem with having a car is you can either be a car person and think that your car is an extension of your personality, or you can just be somebody who has a car as a functional part of your life.
Yes.
You're the former and I'm the latter. You like the idea that you drive an expensive Mercedes.
Yeah, I do.
Because you think it makes your image better.
No, it makes me feel better.
Well, it makes you feel, but that means you're an inadequate person.
No, it doesn't. No,
because if you need to be bolstered by some kind of, faux gaudy addition to your life, some kind of accessory.
No, you don't understand.
Yeah, it means that you're an incredibly insecure person.
I'm not. You see, you're thinking, Porky, when he drives past a bus stop and there's a queue of people there, he'll slow down so everybody can see him in his expensive car.
You probably do that,
No, I don't. I couldn't care less if anybody sees it's me or not, because they don't know who I am anyway.
Yeah, but you would care if they saw you in an old, horrible car, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't be seen in one.
That's what I mean.
I'd rather walk.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'd rather walk, yeah.
So if the reverse is true, then so must the positive.
No, but you have to understand, if I'm driving down the A3 within the regulation speed limit at sort of 5:30am on a summer's morning...
closely followed by a police car.
Well, hopefully not on this occasion. Going to the coast... I feel wonderful that the car doesn't even sound as though it's moving. Yeah. It's a smooth car. It's the smoothest suspension.
If you got an electric car, you wouldn't hear anything.
Well, I wouldn't have an electric car. They're just a joke. And you can't hear the engine because it's very silent. The magnificence of my in-car audio system... is better. It's better than being in a disco in the 80s listening to Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, but you don't know how to work it, do you?
I do. I do know how to work it,
Well, you don't know how to work the sat-nav.
The sat-nav is not part of my in-car audio system, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's
part of your in-car media system, actually.
It's part of the in-car system, I agree. Do you know what the car does as well? This is so interesting. When I'm driving urbanly, like in...
not urbanely.
No, not urbanly. But like in urban situations, like I'm leaving here, like in...
Yeah, we know what an urban situation is.
When you come to a set of lights, right, then the engine... slows down, obviously. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd still be going.
Well, otherwise, you go through.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get another traffic violation.
And then as you're sitting there in the car and the engine's running and you're waiting to go again, all of a sudden the car completely jolts.
What?
And what it's doing is the computer is shaking everything up and checking everything.
I don't think that sounds right.
No, it is.
No,
honestly.
it shouldn't be doing that.
It does.
If your car's jolting at the traffic lights, you better take it in for service.
No, and whenever it jolts, and it just jolts...
You're sure it's not you that's jolting?
No, it's not me jolting, no. It jolts for a tenth of a second, and I always look in the mirror and think somebody's hit me.
Yeah.
But there's nobody there because it's the early hours of the morning.
You see, I think you're starting to have hallucinations due to lack of sleep.
No, it's not. No, it's the car is actually. I'm not joking. It's resetting itself in all its computers.
Well, why does it have to vibrate while resetting?
It doesn't. It just sort of jolts a bit. Like when you reboot.
No, I think you got that wrong.
No, I'm not getting it wrong.
Yeah.
Now, listen. I told you I was going to tell you.
Well, I've got something to tell you.
Oh yeah, please do.
Because you know how in Spain they're a bit partial to having sort of strange kits.
Are they?
Do you remember the
you
one?
mean football kits?
Yeah. What sort of kit do you think I mean? Like a Puccine kit?
No, I didn't know what you...
Deportivo Palencia, right?
You might be talking about make your own beer kit.
No, launched a flesh-themed kit. Do you remember that?
Who?
They launched a flesh-themed kit.
Oh, did they?
Which looked like a naked body.
Oh, I can't stand that. If I see somebody coming towards me with a flesh-coloured, top on...
Well, naked body type top. Well, have you seen that?
Well, eh?
You haven't been to a Segunda B game, have you?
What?
Do you know what that is? You know what I'm talking about, do you?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I've been talking in Spanish.
No, yeah.
Segunda B, what do you think that is?
Segunda B?
Yeah.
Sounds like a religion.
Sounds like the second division to me.
Oh, yes, I say, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a new, newly promoted La Liga side, right, following on from that, who have actually decided that they want to put a scratch and sniff badge onto their shirt.
Really?
You ever heard anything like that?
What sort of aroma are they hoping to...
Apparently cut grass.
Oh, well, I don't mind that. I like that.
Well, what did you think they were going to put on it?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't say. Don't even say what you were thinking.
Exactly. I like cut grass. I think it's a beautiful smell. In fact, in the meadows near me...
I'm surprised you haven't got essence of cut grass on your ridiculously small penthouse roof garden. Because there's no grass there.
It wafts in, don't worry.
Well, no, there's no grass on it.
I'm going to get some false grass. I saw an advert the other day.
False grass?
Yeah, honestly, for, false grass.
Where do you buy false grass?
You buy
false grass shop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, you buy it in places like
you mean AstroTurf?
Home-base. It's not AstroTurf. It's better. It's better. Honestly,
do you know you can buy shoes? You can buy a pair of flip-flops with false grass in the bottom. You walk around with them, it feels like you're in a meadow.
Ridiculous. I can't stand people in
They
flip-flops.
don't do them in size 5.
I would ban flip-flops on public transport. I don't want people's filthy feet exposed to me when I'm sitting there and don't wish to, to either see or observe their bonial structures around their toes.
The thing about this Leganes side, right, this La Liga side, if you've got a shirt that's got a scratch and sniff cut grass smell,
yes.
I mean, I presume that's not for the players, is it?
Well, who's it for?
Well, is it for the people that buy the shirts? Like the replica shirts.
What do you mean?
Well, like the fans, remember them? Who do you see wearing football shirts?
No.
You're completely bedazzled by this story, aren't you?
I'm quite bemused
this story about shirts.
I like the smell of cut grass. I think it's great.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Thank you very much for that. This is Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.